Thank you all for coming to this brainstorming meeting for the upcoming Paper Mario Color Splash game. Come on, people, we've got to come up with some great ideas for this game. Now, I've got a few of my own. Picture this. People love cards, so we'll just give them a bunch of cards to fight with.
Sir, what about the badge system? The
Hey,
RPG
shut up! Shut up!
But sir...
Shut up. I don't want to hear from you again.
Sorry, sir.
Sorry. So, Paper Mario Color Splash is all about adventure, traveling through this interesting...
Traveling without companions, sir?
I said shut up. Hey, come here.
No.
Come here. Hey. Anybody else? Paper Mario Color Splash is actually a really well-made game, just with some really strange design decisions and a ton of features that I expected to be in the game that are just not there. In Paper Mario Color Splash, you follow Mario along with Peach and Toad as they travel to Prism Island in search of a mysterious thing that's happened there. When they arrive, they find that all the color has been drained from various places around this island. Soon you quickly meet Huey, a paint can, who tells you got to find these 6 stars to restore paint to all of this island. Obviously, Bowser's behind what's going on, and of course, he kidnaps Princess Peach like nobody could see that coming. Plot? Well, shit, guys. Let's just have Bowser take Princess Peach again, and then Mario get him back. Perfect. In classic Paper Mario style, Color Splash has some awesome dialogue spread throughout this game. Tons of the scenes are hilarious, with the type of humor that they've had throughout the entire series of games is here and done really well. You'll find yourself chuckling while you're playing through this game. Despite the great dialogue, the overall plot is surprisingly really weak. There's no clear direction to the story. It's kind of hard to really see why you're doing all this stuff in the first place. They leave a lot of things to find out until later in the game. Not like plot twists or anything, they just kind of rush you into the story right away. There's very few really interesting characters in this world, and no companions to speak of, no interesting interactions that you'll meet up with companions and have them come along with you. No, nothing like that. That's completely eliminated from this game. And many of the NPC characters, almost all of them, are all Toads. They all look the same. Yeah, they're different colors, but there's no interesting character designs and stuff like that we've seen in past Paper Mario games. There's just really no wow moments, no great story moments in this game for you to come across, that really builds up to something exciting. It's all just kind of bleh all the way through. Hey, graphics guy, would it be cheaper if we just use the same character model for every character in the game? Yes? Do it. Make every character in this game a Toad. Perfect. People will love that. The gameplay revolves around the use of paint and trying to repaint the entire world. Mario can collect paint by hitting things and use his hammer to smack down paint to recolor the scenery and other people. When I first started out, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, I'm going to use my hammer and repaint the world, try to find the little areas that are kind of hidden where you got to repaint things. That's pretty cool, but the further I went into the game, I realized there's no obvious point to doing this. Even when you restore all the colorless spots in a certain area, you just kind of get a flag marker to tell you you've done that. There's no obvious reward to getting all that stuff done, so I found myself skipping through it and not coloring in any of the scenery. Probably the only incentive to coloring in these colorless spots is that they will spout out cards at you that you can use in combat. In combat, you basically select one of the cards from your inventory and use them to attack enemies. You can color in blank cards to increase them in power and do more damage against your enemies. This combat system is so basic, it's so easy, it's just weirdly simple for a role-playing game. You just pick a card, paint it in, send it, and then kill the guys. There's very little strategy and depth here. Action commands from previous Paper Mario games do make a return in Color Splash, and you use them in battles to increase the effectiveness of your attacks mid-battle. The problem is, though, is that there's no real obvious difference between a basic attack and a perfectly executed action command attack. There's maybe a little bit of a difference in the damage done. What all this really combines to is these pointless battles that have no stakes in them. There's no real strategy involved. You're just picking attacks and attacking until you win the battle. It's so basic and boring. The only kind of reward you get for winning battles is you'll collect these little hammers that will sprout out of defeated enemies that will, if you collect enough, they'll increase your total amount of paint that you can hold. But I found that this was so pointless. I was never running out of paint anyway, so increasing it was just why I didn't feel the need to. So I ended up trying to dodge enemies as much as possible and started to get frustrated when I had to face enemies because it was a waste of my time. Overall, this combat system is just probably for me the most disappointing part of this game. I was so encouraged by the thought that they would maybe return to the RPG roots of this Paper Mario series, but they did, but just with none of the charm of previous games. There are a couple of new features unique to Paper Mario Color Splash, the first being the cutout system. In the world, when you come up against certain areas where you can't progress much further, sometimes the scenery will line up in such a way that Huey, your paint can companion, says that you can cut out the scenery, hop in and move along the background to get to a new area. It's not really explained that well and frankly doesn't make a ton of sense for this world. How all of a sudden does Mario cut out the scenery and then hop into nothing and then just kind of teleport throughout the world? Why can't we do this all the time? Why do we have to only do it at certain areas? It just doesn't make a ton of sense. The second unique feature is the use of real-life things in the Paper Mario world. On your journey, you'll find some of these real-life things lying around, maybe possibly in your way, that you can pick up and wring them out to collect all the paint from, and you'll turn them into a card that you can use. You can use this card in the world using the cutout system to access new areas or solve certain puzzles, or you can use them in a battle to unleash devastating attacks on enemies. I actually found this things mechanic to be a fairly decent addition to the game. They were very useful in battles. Often you came up against a tough enemy, most of the time bosses. You'd use this item and it would destroy a bunch of enemies, which was great. And it opened up a lot of new avenues for puzzle solving elements. Having the right thing to solve a certain puzzle at the right time was really interesting. Picture this. We take real world things and put them into the game with no explanation. Talk about mystery, right? Right? That brings us to the bosses. The only combat sections, in my opinion, that are really worth anything. In all of them, you fight against Bowser's kids who are protecting a big paint star that you have to collect. One of the 6 that you've got to collect on your journey. These battles provide some significant challenge. I mean, the enemies are tough and you've got to use a fair variety of attacks to get their health down and eliminate them. But in all of them, it requires you to have a specific thing that you found in the real world to defeat the boss. In theory, this is pretty cool. You gotta work your way throughout the world to find the secret weapon, the only thing that can defeat the boss, and you have it, and it's still a tough battle even with this secret weapon. But in practice, it doesn't work that way at all. It's often really hard to know what that item would be going into the battle, and these things are so easy to miss throughout the world. Some of them are hidden quite well, and if you miss it, you can't beat the boss. So you have to work your way through all these other different levels to find something you need, and you don't have it. For example, for the yellow star, I was able to get all the way to the final boss for that section with no resistance. When I got into the boss battle, I couldn't beat him because I didn't have the right item. So I had to go all the way back through the level searching to find this item that I needed to find, and it was tough to find. But when I found it, obviously I had to go all the way back, get the boss, and defeat him using this item, which just made me feel like I was wasting my time going back through areas I'd already been through. To me, this seemed to be the story of the entire game. Going through the game, enjoying some of the parts, but realizing you missed something that you need earlier, going back, getting it, and then going through an area you've already been before just to get back to where you were. There are some pretty cool elements in Paper Mario Color Splash, some interesting interactions, like for example, there's a battle that you have to engage in on a pirate ship with Toads versus Shy Guys, that you hop in and kind of fight them all, which was pretty cool. There's a fair amount of interactions like that, and part of that has to do with how well this game is presented. The graphics and visuals in this game are really well done. The world is very colorful. They've coordinated each of the areas with one of the 6 colors of the rainbow, which makes so much sense for the game and looks great as you go through. And as well, the music and sounds just make so much sense and fit well within this Mario world. Some of the stuff throwing back to, retro Mario tunes that they've kind of reworked, and as well as some new stuff, which is just great to listen to and look at while you play through this game. Really, when it comes down to it, Paper Mario Color Splash is a beautiful RPG with no RPG elements. There is no progression system whatsoever, no reason to do battles, no leveling up. Even your health increases are scripted with each big paint star that you get. Again, there's no companions, no interesting interactions, no dialogue between Mario and a companion, with the exception of Huey. There's no using a companion's ability to access a certain area, which was part of a lot of the fun that happened in Paper Mario the original and the Thousand-Year Door, and this game was missing that sorely. There's a finite number of cards in the game, and a lot of them are very similar. The jumps all look really the same. The action commands are all almost exactly the same. Same thing with the hammer attacks. You just press A at the right moment and it's executed well, making each of the abilities, even though they're slightly different, feel the same, and you just get bored with them easily. There's no indication of the enemy's health, with the exception of them slowly losing color, so you can kind of tell what percentage they're at, but you have no idea what strength your attacks will be unless you just pay attention to exactly how much pain it takes out, which is just a pain. I wish there was an easier way to see what the enemy's health was. As you progress, you'll be able to use more and more cards per turn, but say you use 2 or 3 cards in a turn, but you only needed 1 to kill the enemy, you'll lose those other 2 cards even though they were unused. Why can't I just take those back and keep them in my inventory? It seems like a silly waste. The economy is broken. You will rarely have to buy cards in this game, and when you do, they're so cheap. You just buy the white ones and then use your paint to paint them up, because you never run out of paint. So I often found that I had thousands and thousands of coins in my inventory just going unused. The map overworld system fits well with the Mario theme, but doesn't really connect that well with themes that they'd had in previous Paper Mario games, with everything being connected and you traveling to things from a hub world. In this game, everything's connected on the map in weird and strange ways, making you kind of go, how are all these things connected? It's unclear. I had high hopes for Paper Mario Color Splash, maybe unnecessarily high. I really enjoyed the original game so much. The original and Thousand-Year Door were just such great games to me. They managed to capture a mix of great storytelling with awesome gameplay to make for great games. And in those games is a template for how to do the Paper Mario games well. They've already know how to make great stories and have great dialogue in this excellent setting that they've created, but the template for good gameplay is right there. You've already done it. I don't understand why they don't just take the things they did well and really progress on them to make for an even better experience on the new generation console. Really, I'm just so disappointed with what we got in Paper Mario Color Splash. And for that reason, my final verdict for Paper Mario Color Splash is a 6 out of 10. It's a slightly above average game. I just don't get how the development team behind Paper Mario Color Splash wouldn't have listened to fan feedback from previous games and looked at some of the more successful games in the franchise. There's no way that if they did this is what the fans would have said their dream Paper Mario game would look like. So I don't really understand that. The result is just another painfully mediocre game from Nintendo. They've managed to get their presentation and graphics to look comparable to some of the other consoles, but all the games are just so painfully average. Taking series that people have loved so much from the past and bringing them into the present just without the execution. It actually starts to really piss me off when I think about it. All the franchises Nintendo takes that people loved in the past and putting out mediocre additions to it, stop f***ing with our favorite franchises, Nintendo. I've got to do something. Okay, okay. Hey, corporate guy. Hey, that's Mr. Corporate Guy to you. What the hell do you want? I'm here for a piece of you. Let's go. Oh yeah. That's for Paper Mario Color Splash. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time on Yes Guy Gaming.